This is an operating system where you evaluate, you elevate, and then you create an engine. Those are our 3 E's. We remove confusion inside of the EdSales Elevation Experience. We build a clear, defensible solution for you inside of the EdSales Elevation Experience. And then we install systems in the EdSales Elevation Experience so you can have repeat, high quality, high converting sales. If education sales has you second guessing yourself, take a breath. This is a trust first, relationship driven market, and the old tactics, they don't translate. This show replaces guesswork with clarity and a customer acquisition system that builds a pipeline you can trust. I'm Josh Chernikoff, 2-time education founder with 2 exits and a lead gen coach for companies in education. Through my EdSales Elevation Experience over the last 2 years, I've coached 210 companies to leads on repeat. In 2025 alone, I delivered over 2,600 hours of coaching to education companies. My co-host is John Gamba. He also has a successful exit, and now he's the Director of Innovative Programs and the Entrepreneur in Residence at Penn's Graduate School of Education. This is the only show dedicated to customer acquisition for education companies, so consistent listeners go from stalled deals to clarity, credibility, and a pipeline they can rely on. This is EdSales Edge, where education company founders earn their edge. Welcome to the EdSales Edge. This show is going to be a little bit different for a few reasons. One of them is I may sound different, and that's because I'm in a kind of a transition studio as my family has moved from one apartment to another here in Northwest DC, and we're in the process of moving, but I've got a show to record, so the show must go on. This is also an extra show because March is a longer month, so we get to give you guys a 5th show for this month. And so I'm recording it now. And this is going to be a little bit of a different format. And we're always interested in trying new things. You should be interested in trying new things and thriving in your own business, not just coping. Are you coping or are you thriving? And we're thriving and trying new things. The name of this episode is You Asked, We're Answering. The real questions behind 3E, the EdSales Elevation Experience. So let me just start here because this matters. Over the past few weeks, we've been running what we call our own Raise Your Hand campaign. And if you've been following along, you know this isn't about generating noise. The Raise Your Hand campaigns are all about listening. We're teaching you how to listen in the education space. I know it's resonating. And we're also listening to what the people around us are saying in terms of here's where we're getting stuck in our education business regarding lead generation. And so what we've been doing behind the scenes is we have been paying very close attention, and we've been getting questions. And now we're going to answer those questions regarding the EdSales Elevation Experience. I'll answer them directly. I'll answer them clearly. I'll answer them with no fluff. Before we get into those questions, I want to anchor to something very important. A lot of these questions are about 3E, the EdSales Elevation Experience. But just to make sure we're aligned here, 3E is not just a course that you go through. And if you're listening, I am doing air quotes around go through. It's a system you operate inside. This is an operating system where you evaluate, you elevate, and then you create an engine. Those are our 3 E's. We remove confusion inside of the EdSales Elevation Experience. We build a clear, defensible solution for you inside of the EdSales Elevation Experience, and then we install systems in the EdSales Elevation Experience so you can have repeat, high quality, high converting sales. And if that still doesn't make sense, and that's all good, here's some of the questions that you might be thinking about so that you can understand more about 3E. Before we get into that, though, I've got a commercial. And I'm going to take a quick pause here. If something has been clicking or if something feels off regarding what we're doing here at the EdSales Elevation Experience, don't overthink it and don't save it for later. I'm here for you. I'm serious. Just text me. 771-333-4233. I answer all of those text messages. 771-333-4233. Tell me what you sell, who you're trying to reach, and where you feel stuck, and I will do my best to help you. Now, let's get started with question 1 around the EdSales Elevation Experience. Question 1, I already have a network. Do I really need something like 3E? This is one of the most common questions that we get. And I'll also say it's one of the most dangerous, because a network can hide a lack of clarity in your business. Here's what I mean. If your business is growing primarily through relationships, you don't actually know if your positioning works. You know you've got a good network, though, and that's nice. You know people trust you, but that's different. And what happens over time is referrals slow down, growth becomes inconsistent, and everything stalls, including your confidence. So right now you might have momentum, but you know you've got no engine. 3E is not about replacing your network, by the way. It's about making sure your business still works without depending on that network. Real businesses don't rely on who you know, they rely on clarity that converts. Another question, what if I'm still figuring out my offer? Good. Great. You're exactly where you need to be. Because most people try to build pipeline before they have any clarity. And that's backwards. If your offer isn't clear, here's what's going to happen. You over-explain, you customize too much, you sound different in every conversation. And that, most likely, given who I work with, companies $2 million and below in the education space, is probably what's happening for you right now. And by the way, buyers feel that. They feel it when you over-explain. They feel it when you're trying to customize. And what they feel is desperation. And that's why the signature solution is the mountaintop in the EdSales Elevation Experience. And if you're feeling that, I'll take you to the mountaintop. So you're not selling services, you're selling a transformation. That's what the signature solution is. It takes you from confusion to clarity. Well, it takes your client from confusion to clarity. From to clear, defensible, repeatable. Your clients receive that and they understand how you can help them. So we'll work on your offer. And in some cases, if you're working on it now, we're going to get you to the mountaintop. Another question, why isn't my outreach converting even though people are responding? Not a good feeling. And by the way, response is not the same as readiness. That's the distinction we have to make right now. And this is where most founders misread signals. In education markets, people are very, very polite. They respond, they engage, they say this looks great. But that doesn't mean that they're ready to buy, folks. I wish it did. What you're actually dealing with is latent readiness. Okay? They're aware, they're interested, but timing, budget, internal alignment might not be there just yet. Your job is not to force it, by the way. Your job is to stay present until it activates. All you can do is be a credible person with a clear offer for your perfect client. And when the time is right and when the money is right for them, you are there for them. That's when the timing shifts for them. And that's when the timing is right for you. Let me pause here for a second. I'm going to reference that raise your hand again. If you've been listening to this series, and I hope you have, you're realizing you're getting interest but no real movement. There's a reason. There's a good reason. You're probably talking to people who can say yes but aren't ready to. And as we go into commercial number 2 here, I've got a solution for you. That's why we built the Raise Your Hand framework, and it is available to you. It helps you spot the difference between someone who's curious and someone who's actually ready to buy. And that's really important to be able to do, especially as you start to build that top of funnel of high quality, high converting leads. You want to know who's ready and who's not there just yet. So if you want that Raise Your Hand framework, all you got to do is text RAISE, R-A-I-S-E, to 771-333-4233. Again, I will get that text message, as will my Chief of Staff, Kim. She's fantastic, and she'll get you that framework. Let's get back to the show. Question 4. I'm posting, I'm active. Why does it still feel inconsistent? Good question. Because activity is not a system. You can post every day and still not have pipeline. I see it quite often. Why? Because visibility is not the same as credibility. Visibility is not the same as credibility. And credibility is not the same as conversion as well. If your message isn't anchored in a clear, perfect client, a clear transformation, a clear tension, well, then all your activity does is actually create noise. We don't want to create enough noise for people to eventually tune you out. We want to create clarity because clarity compounds. That's why the EdSales Elevation Experience, that forces this sequence for you. So if what's underneath is unclear, guess what? You're just going to scale that confusion. So we need to get those posts to not only make it into LinkedIn, to not only make it in front of your perfect client, but they need to also make sense. Let's get to question 5. How do I know if I'm actually ready for something like 3E, the EdSales Elevation Experience, my core course that I offer to my perfect clients? The answer is simple. And it kind of centers around a LinkedIn headline, but let me keep it simple for you, okay? Do you know who you help? Do you know what you solve for them? And do you know how long it takes? Let me translate that a little bit. We teach something called a LinkedIn headline. I help who, using what method, get which results. Do you know who you help, what method you use, and what results you get them? If you don't know that, you don't have clarity. And without it, you hesitate. And without it, your buyers hesitate. And without it, you don't have a full pipeline. So for people who are saying, am I actually ready for something like 3E? If you know who you help, how you help them, and what results you get, you probably don't necessarily need this. But if you can't answer those questions, this course is for you. Question 6. What makes 3E different from everything else out there? Most programs give you tactics. 3E forces, and I mean forces, decisions. That's the difference. And that's very intentional. When you come to the EdSales Elevation Experience, you aren't just learning how to message, how to prospect, how to close. You can figure that, I'm going to use another word here, stuff out using chat or YouTube. What we are there to do with you is decide. Decide who you are for, what you stand for, what you are building. Again, we're making decisions with you. And you're making decisions in the cohort with 9 other companies in the education space, only in the education space. This is for people in the education space. It's what I know. I've started, scaled, and sold 2 companies. This is my 3rd. I teach lead generation, customer acquisition in the education space. That is also what makes 3E different than any other course out there. Now, I'm going to do something very different in this show than I've ever done. I want to shift gears for a second because one of the things we've been doing during the Raise Your Hand campaign is paying attention to the people actually doing the work. These are people that are close to me. These aren't people who are just asking questions. These are people who are building, executing, and getting real outcomes. These are people who came into our course, who went through the Raise Your Hand campaign themselves that you've been hearing about. They started listening to their perfect client, and now they are on a brand new level. Many of them are also in my mastermind that meets every Friday. So I'm going to highlight these people, and I'm going to start with a name you know very well, Paul King, the founder of Neighborhood Educational Partners. Paul works directly with New York City public school principals, helping them increase Algebra 1 Regions pass rates. Does that sound niche down? Yeah, it is. Paul is almost as niche down as you can get. Proud of him. And here's what he did right. He didn't go broad. He didn't generalize. He got specific. Now he's closing multiple 6-figure deals every time this guy sends me a WhatsApp message. That's how we communicate in our mastermind. He's closing another deal because his outcome is super clear for the principals in New York City at the public schools that he works with. He's so aligned with his clients, and I'm so happy for him. How about Kathryn Adabonyan? You might know that name. She was one of the first members of the EdSales Elevation Experience. She's the founder of GoPursue. Kathryn is solving a problem most people ignore. What happens to students who don't go to college? Kathryn has a heart of gold. She connects employers with high school seniors entering the workforce. So on one side, employers need reliable talent. On the other, students need real friggin' pathways. One of the things I love about Kathryn is she's doing it in my hometown of Washington, D.C., which it's getting nicer here, late March. So the windows are open. You might be hearing some of that noise out there in Northwest DC. Kathryn bridges that gap between the employers and the workforce. New hires, new careers, easy for me to say, real movement. What Kathryn did is she came into the EdSales Elevation Experience not believing in LinkedIn. She was anti-LinkedIn. She began to see how being a credible source on LinkedIn for her perfect client, being somebody they could rely on for information to better themselves in their own business, made her a subject matter expert. And she stuck with LinkedIn. She thought about LinkedIn, well, really like the gym. She said, I've got to go 3 to 5 times a week. And by doing that, she absolutely elevated herself in front of the people that she was getting to know through LinkedIn. And also, what she talks about is how people who didn't quite understand her and what she was doing came out of the woodwork on LinkedIn and said, now I get it and I want to learn more. Well, she was talking to her perfect client, her credibility was there, and her offer was clear. So of course they said, now I get it. Let's shout out to Brent Newton. Brent was the first person ever that signed up for the EdSales Elevation Experience. This is my brother. He founded myOwl. Brent is tackling a really tough problem, which is very important to him. Brent has a co-founder who also happens to be his daughter, Talia. She's fantastic as a person and as a soccer player. And so Brent and Talia and their family were trying to manage her elite soccer career and her school. And so they're in the process of creating a solution to help families who are in a similar situation manage travel, manage practice, and manage homework. That's what myOwl is. Very niche down, very clear, very helpful, and the traction is there. Let's talk about Tara Williams. She's the founder of Innovative Collegiate Consultants. She's so cool. Tara's out there in Southern California. She has a chief of staff named Caitlin. The two of them are absolute rock stars. Tara works with neurodivergent students. Again, does that sound niche down? It is. She helps them move from overwhelmed to confident to independent to self-advocating through personalized executive functioning support. That's what Tara and Caitlin do. They do this in school. They do this in life for these particular students. This is deep work. Tara was kind of keeping it general before she went into the EdSales Elevation Experience. We niched her down, and guess what? The lead gen went up. How about Wayne Bovier? Good friend of mine. He's the founder of Higher Digital. Wayne works with higher education presidents and CIOs, fixing strategy execution. He doesn't do it in an abstract way. He does it very practically. Wayne comes from that background of being a consultant. And so he has begun to save institutions around $750,000 to $3 million annually. And that's a great thing. But the problem was nobody really understood what Wayne did. In fact, I'm not even sure if Wayne understood what Wayne did. So Wayne and I worked very hard, one-to-one and in the cohort, on his signature solution. What's the real transformation that occurs for the presidents and CIOs that Wayne works with when they go through the work with Wayne? His operational advantage. That's what his signature solution is called. Now Wayne doesn't have to chase those big deals, and he doesn't have to convert anybody because they're already converted when they get to him. He again has a perfect client. He has the credibility, and his offer is clear now. So these aren't random wins. That's why I'm able to highlight them. This is what happens for my clients when clarity locks in. And I ask you, do you want to get specific? And I'm going to ask you a bigger question, which was asked of me, of my coach very recently. I just went to a 4-day mastermind in Cabo, Mexico. One of the things that was asked of me, are you coping or are you thriving in your business? And I'm asking you, are you coping or are you thriving when it comes to lead generation? Think about that for a second. But before we answer that question, I got one last commercial. If you're serious about building a real lead gen engine in education, not guessing, not relying on referrals or word of mouth, this is where the work starts. And it starts in the EdSales Elevation Experience. We help you get clear on your buyer. We build your credibility. We create a system for you to get the right conversations and to get the contracts in and signed. The details are in the show notes. Now let's close this puppy out. Here's what I want to leave you with. If you've been listening to this and if you've been thinking, yeah, I've been asking these same questions that Josh did just answer, that's the point of the entire Raise Your Hand series. We listened. We paid attention to what you're actually navigating, my perfect client, you, the listener out there. Not what sounds good in theory, not what works in other markets, but what's real inside education when it comes to lead generation, customer acquisition. And these questions, the ones we walk through today, they are not random. They are the signals that I am receiving from people. My team is receiving. And those might be signals that you're close if you're asking these questions, but that something isn't fully clear just yet. Once clarity locks in, you don't ask yourself, do I need this? You start asking, how fast can I implement this? And when you start asking that question, how fast can I implement this? You will go from coping to thriving. That's the shift from uncertainty to decision, from scattered effort to focused execution, from explaining what you do to being understood immediately and maybe even being understood before somebody speaks to you. That's exactly what 3E is built for. Not more information, not more tactics. We want to build clarity, confidence, and an engine in that order with you. Me, I will do it with you. So if you've been circling around this and if you've been watching and you're kind of what we call in the coaching business a lurker, but I mean that with nothing but love. If you've been trying to piece it together on your own, this is your moment to stop lurking and actually step in. Here's the question that really matters. Are you ready to go from coping to thriving? Are you ready to get clear? Or are you going to keep operating in the maybe? If the answer is clear, you know what to do. And I am so proud of you, and I'm so excited to meet you, and I'm so excited to see you in the EdSales Elevation Experience. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the great questions. Thank you to the Pauls and the Taras and the Brents and the Kathryns, and the list goes on of people who have trusted me with your education business to help you go from coping to thriving. Hopefully you are next. All right, that's it for this episode of the EdSales Edge. Thanks for joining us. If you sell into education, the goal of this show is very simple: to help you stop guessing what actually moves deals in a system where trust matters. If you want to go deeper, join us inside The Entourage, our private community for education founders and operators selling into schools. You'll see the details in the show notes. If this episode helped you think more clearly, that's great. Subscribe, like it, and share it with another founder in the education space. Until next time, get clear, build trust, set up a system for sales, and keep earning your edge.